Hey guys, this is Dr. Callahan. Today we're going to talk about sections 1.3, which is on solving equations with a variable on both sides. So make sure you guys have your booklets, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with a few things. Starting off with the first one, I want you guys to go ahead and turn to 1.3 and go ahead and answer some of the following questions. Start off with right here. So some friends want to go see a movie that is showing at 2 different theaters in town. They plan to share 3 tubs of popcorn during the movie, and you have the 2 different options of the theaters. You have theater A, that is the ticket price of a movie is $14.50, whereas theater B gives you the price of $13. And of course, if you look at it, the exchange is that for theater A, the popcorn is a little bit less expensive at $5.75 a bucket, which is still very expensive. And theater B is $6.75. So take a moment to pause the video and answer the following A, B, and C question. A asks, which movie theater should the friend choose? Explain. It's subjective. It's not really a right or wrong answer. You can just go ahead and use your intuition and pick it, and then express yourself with words. Question B says, for which situation would the total cost at each theater be exactly the same? Explain. And C, there are different methods of solving this problem. Which do you think is the best and why? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at example 1. For example 1, you have A, 100 parentheses, z minus 0.2 equals negative 10 parentheses 5z plus 0.8. So what you're going to do is going to take that 100 and distribute it into the parentheses. 100 times z is going to give you 100z minus 0.2 times 100 is going to give you, and you are allowed to use a calculator in this class, so you are welcome to do that. And that is going to give you a 20, which is equal to, do the same thing on the right side, take the negative 10, multiply into the parentheses, and you get a negative 50z, negative times a positive, so you're going to have 10 times 0.8 is going to give you a negative 8. Now, at this point, you have z on both sides. You have 100z on the left, and you have negative 50z on the right. Well, you want the z's to go onto one side, so I'm going to move the one that's a smaller z, which in this case is a negative 50. So opposite of a negative 50 is a positive 50. So I'm going to go ahead and add 50 on both sides. So then the negative 50, positive 50 cancels. Bring down the negative 20. Bring down the negative 8. And 100 plus 50 is going to give you 150z. Next tab, you want to get rid of the negative 20. Opposite of a negative is a positive. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on both sides. Negative, positive cancels. Bring down 150z equals negative 8 plus a 20 is going to give you a 12. And your last step is going to be, well, what is opposite of a times? That's going to be a divide. So I'm going to divide that on both sides, and I have z equals, and you can actually leave like this, or you can reduce it, which will give you a 6/75. And that is your answer. If you decide to go one step further and put it into a decimal, it will give you z equals 0.08. And that's a 0. There you go. All right, let's proceed on to example 1b. Once again, you're going to go ahead and distribute the fraction in here. So you have 16 times 5, which is, I'm sorry, 16 times 5 is going to give you an 80. Don't forget your 8 on the bottom, d plus, so you're going to take the numerator 5 times it by 24. That's going to give you 120 over 8 equals, do the same thing on the right side. 6 times d is 60 minus 6 plus 1. I want to clean this up a little bit. It looks a little bit ugly right now. So I know that 80 divided by 8 is going to give me a 10. 120 divided by 8 is going to give me a 15. On the right side, I'm going to combine like terms. Negative 6 plus 1 is going to give me a negative 5. And at this point, I have a 10D and a 6D. I always want to move the smallest number, so that way it's going to ensure me that I have everything positive. So I'm going to subtract 6D on both sides. Want to make sure I get rid of that so you don't think it's division, because it's not. And negative 60 cancels. I'm going to bring down the 15, bring down the negative 5, and I have a 4D equal to 15. Or it was, oops, hold on a second. It's actually a plus. Okay, now my goal is to get the D by itself. So what's opposite of a positive 15? It is minus 15 on both sides. So I'll cross that out, bring down the 4D. Negative 5 and negative 15 is a negative 20. And your last step is a divide, because opposite of a times by 4 is a divide. And then D equals negative 5. And that is your answer, you guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at example 2. I'm going to go ahead and have you go ahead and give a try for example 2. You attempt it, but I'm going to proceed forward to go on to B, example 2B. All right, so first thing, once again, you're going to multiply the 16 and distribute it into the parentheses. And you're going to see that 16 times 4, I'm going to do it on the side, 6 times 4 is 24, 1 times 4 is 4, plus a 2 is going to give me a 6. So I have 64 minus, do the same thing with 16 times 3. 6 times 3 is 18, carry the 1, so that's going to give me a 48. M, or negative 48M, equals, distribute the 96 inside here, you're going to get a negative 96 over 2M plus 96. Now, I want to reduce this a little bit, and I know that if I have a 96 divided by 2, I could do a 4, which gives me an 8. 2 times 8 is going to give me a 16. So I'm just going to replace this part right here as a negative 48M. And what you can see right here is you have a negative 48M on the left side, negative 48M on the right side. If I were to add opposite of a negative, which is a positive 48 on both sides, I would have, this part cancels, a 0M, bring down the 64, bring down the 96, and essentially what I'll have left is 64 is equal to 96. That's not equal, so your answer is just going to be no solution. Okay, so next what I want you guys to do is go on to do you understand, answer the following 2 questions. How do you create equations with variable on both sides and use them to solve problems? Next one, why does it make sense to describe an equation that has infinitely many solutions, such as an identity? And we're going to go on to the right side over here. I'm going to have you guys try number 5 on your own. And before I end the lesson, let's go on to example 6. We're going to distribute the negative 3 into the parentheses. So you have a negative 24 minus 9h equals 5h plus 4. Once again, you always want to add the smallest number. So in this case, it's a negative 9h. So opposite of a negative is a positive. You're going to bring down the negative 24. 9 and 5 gives me a 14h plus 4. Opposite of a positive 4 is a negative 4, so I'm going to subtract that on both sides. Bring down the 14h, which is a negative 28. Opposite of a multiplication is a division, so I'm going to divide it by 14 on both sides. And h is equal to a negative 2. And this is my answer. Now, if you were to check your answer, you can go ahead and take that negative 2. Wherever you see an h in the original equation, you take that negative 2 and you plug it in. So let's go ahead and try to check that. So here you have negative 3 times 8 plus 3 times negative 2 equals 5 times negative 2 plus 4. And let's see if the left side equals the right side. Well, 3 times negative 2 is a negative 6. Negative 6 plus 8 gives me a 2. 2 times negative 3 is going to give me a negative 6. On the right side, 5 times negative 2 is a negative 10. Negative 10 plus 4 does indeed give me a negative 6. So I know my answer is correct. And my answer is indeed h equals negative 2. All right, I'm going to go ahead and have you guys give number 7 a try on your own. And then let's do number 8. Distribute the 2 on both sides, or excuse me, on one side. So then you have 8x minus 4 on the left, 8x minus 8 on the right. If you look at this right here, you have an 8x and an 8x, which is just going to cancel. And you have negative 4 equals negative 8. Well, it doesn't really work this way. So your answer is a no solution, because negative 4 does not equal negative 8. I'm just going to go ahead and do number 7 as well, since we have a little bit of time. So if you tried it on your own, let's see if you got the answer correctly. So for number 7, distribute the 2 on the first parenthesis. 2 times y is 2y. 2 times negative 6 is a negative 12. 3 times y is a 3y. 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12 minus y. On the right side, you want to combine like terms. 3y and minus 1y is going to be a 2y plus 12. Or, I'm sorry, it's not plus 12, it's minus 12. Oops. I knew that was going to happen because I was like, it should look exactly the same on both sides because it's going to give you an interesting solution. So then we'll bring down the 2y minus 12. So if you look at this one here, notice that on the right side, you have a positive 2y and a positive 2y on the right side and the left side, which means you can just go ahead and cross it out. They just equally cancel because they're exactly the same. But then also another thing you should notice is that you have a negative 2 or negative 12 on the left side and a negative 12 on the right side, which means they're exactly the same. And you can go ahead and cross that out. So then at this point, you essentially have 0 equals 0. So in this case, it's not a no solution. It is an infinitely many solution, which means you could plug in any numbers for y that you want, and your answers will always be correct. So there are many solutions. Going one step beyond this, if you were to go ahead and graph this, infinitely many solutions, if you can imagine, is a line. So here's a purple line. And then you have another line. And let's see if I can make this maybe into like a light blue. And they're just on top of each other. So every single solution you have is literally hitting each other between the blue and the purple line. Now for no solution, imagine you have, okay, well, I don't know what happened here. Okay, minimize, minimize. Okay, there we go. No solution means that you have a line right here, and your second line is going to be parallel to that. If you notice, they're not ever going to touch. So there is literally no solution in between them. And lastly, one solution is when you have one line going in this direction, and then in second line going the opposite. And once again, what is going on? There we go. A second line going the opposite direction. So then you have one solution because you have just one dot right there. All right, you guys, that is it for 1.3. I hope that makes sense. Have a wonderful day.